Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Today we're looking at the whole topic of harmony guitar parts. You know what I mean, Allman Brothers, Thin Lizzy, Brian May, that kind of thing. Now, there's a lot to do with this topic, and I'm not going to even pretend that I'm going to explore every last nook and cranny of what's going on with this particular theory and practice and everything. But by the time you watch this video, you should have a pretty good idea of where to start with it all. Now, before we get into the whole business of creating a harmony, well, you need something to harmonize. You need an original melody from which to base your harmony. And I thought I'd use this piece of music, which is the score from one of my favourite films. Here it is. Yes, indeed. There you go. So, how do we go about creating a harmony for that? Well, like this. Okay, here is the chord sequence which lies underneath the melody, and in order to gain any understanding of what's going on here and be able to create a harmony, we need to have a look at what notes are being used. So here are the notes in each of the chords. You can see that F is an F, an A and a C, C is C, E, G, etc. You've noticed there that I've circled the A7 chord and called that a guest chord, which we'll deal with later. So we'll deal with that later. Now, basically, if we kind of take the A7 chord out of the equation for the moment and add up the rest of the notes, we get this scale, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E and F. These are the notes that are in the melody. So, how do we harmonise that? Well, basically, all we do is pair each note up with the note a third above it. So what you do is, for instance, if you call the F note, note 1, then you count up to note 3, and that's an A note. If you count the G note as note 1, count up to note 3 from that, and you'll find it's a B flat, and so on. And that gives you a harmonised scale, which sounds like this. So now let's apply this to the melody, and we should get a harmonised melody. First of all, here is the melody written out, and you can see that if you're not too good at reading music, all of the notes are conveniently named, and I've also indicated what chord they are being played over and what notes are in that chord, and that's going to become important. And that's because, if we look at this, you can see I've circled where all of the main focal point notes in the melody are. This is a little bit tricky to define, but basically it's the important notes in the melody, and it's usually either the first note in the bar or the longest note in the bar, and sometimes the first note in the bar is the longest note in the bar. You'll know when you hear it, basically, which notes are the main skeleton of the melody. And the important thing is here that these notes need to be notes that are taken from the underlying chord. That's very important. That's what makes them sound strong. And if we harmonise that melody, then using that thirds technique, then you see that something rather interesting happens. Some of the notes that are in the harmony begin to fall outside the actual notes of the chord, and that's going to sound a little bit odd. It's going to sound like this, in fact. And that basic option of harmonising the melody in thirds is exactly what you'll get from any kind of harmonizer effect that you may have as a pedal or in your multi-effects or whatever. And you can hear that it isn't really that satisfying. Some of the notes tend to sound a little bit well, not really like they belong, to be honest with you. They are still right notes, they are still in key, but they don't have that strong sound that the melody notes need. And let's not forget, a harmony is just another melody played on top of the original one. So how do we correct this? Well, all you got to do is take each of those notes that are not quite gelling properly because they are falling outside the chord, and move them up one scale step. And if we do that, we get this, which sounds much more satisfying, much like this. So you can hear that that harmony sounds much more satisfying and much more pleasant when it actually takes the chord sequence into account. Something that a pedal like this, quite frankly, which has its uses, is not really able to do. Anyway, yes, some unfinished business. I mentioned the A7 chord, didn't I? And we'd come back to that later. Well, basically what's going on with that? Well, it's kind of what we would call a guest chord. It's a chord from outside the key. Now, the whole topic of adding chords from outside the key into a chord sequence is well beyond the scope of this video, but it is, you know, something that you can learn how to understand, and with a bit of practice you'll be able to spot the odd one out in terms of chords as easily as you can spot the odd one out in terms of these guitars. It just becomes, you know, something that you can do because you understand what's going on. If you'd like me to do a video on the whole topic of writing chord sequences and being able to figure out other people's chord sequences and understand them, then just leave a message, a comment in the comments section below. Anyway, yes, how do we deal with this A7? Well, as always, the trick is to look at what's going on in terms of the notes. And you can see that an A7 chord has an A, a C sharp, an E and a G note in it. Any combination of those notes will give you an A7 chord. And then if we compare that to the scale that the melody is based upon, you can see the only note which is sort of arguing there with the C sharp in the chord is the C note in the scale. So all you got to do is, when you're playing over the A7 chord, change the C note that you may land on as part of the melody or harmony into a C sharp, and that's exactly what I did in that compensated chord sequence version of the harmony part that you heard earlier. And you can pretty much usually deal with any awkward chord in this manner here. But as I say, if you want some videos putting up about how chord sequences work and stuff like that, then just let me know and I will take care of it. And that's pretty much it for today, folks. I do hope you've enjoyed this video and found it informative, useful, and maybe even a little bit inspiring. If that's the case, then please hit subscribe and the notification bell and give me a like while you're at it. I'll just take a moment as well to mention that I do have a course on sale at the moment. There's the URL you can buy it from. It is Making the Modes Easy. Everything that you need to know about playing lead guitar with the Dorian mode, the Ionian, Mixolydian, all that sort of stuff, explained in a jargon-free, plain English way, and you also get like demonstration solos and tabs and jam tracks and all manner of good stuff, and it's yours for only 40 quid. The URL is there on screen and the link is in the description box below. And if you would like some tailored one-to-one guitar tuition, then give me a shout via the details at the end of this video. If you live on Teesside in the northeast of England, you can come along for a face-to-face lesson, or wherever else you are in the world, you can have a lesson via Skype, and whichever way you do it, your first lesson's free, so what have you got to lose? And with that, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching, and I will look forward to seeing you all again next time around. Bye for now, folks.